Does cold laser therapy work? By the end of this video, you're gonna know. My name is Dr. Story. I've been a chiropractor for over 24 years. I'm gonna give you realistic advice based on my experience. Now, I practiced for many, many years prior to cold laser therapy even being available for us as an adjunct to the treatment that we do. So I actually had a lot of experience treating people prior to even using this technology. And then afterwards, I was able to compare what the differences really were between not using cold laser therapy and doing it. And in this video, I'm going to give you all the details you need to know to decide if it's something that's right for you. Now, if you want to get into the details, there's a link down below in the description area. I'm going to put all the research that you can read if you want to get more detailed information, but I'm going to give you information that I give to my patients to explain to them in simple terms so they can understand exactly how this works. So there are some benefits of cold laser therapy and there are some disadvantages. So let's go over the benefits first. Number one, cold laser therapy reduces inflammation. When you sprain an ankle, sprain a shoulder, sprain a wrist, all these different types of things that we can sprain, cold laser therapy can significantly reduce the inflammation, sometimes miraculously quick. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it does it at all. However, one of the benefits of cold laser therapy is simply to reduce inflammation. Number two, it actually increases circulation without creating heat. Now, what you want when you have an injury to the body is you want circulation coming to that area. So you want blood, you want oxygen, you want nutrients going into that area, but you don't want to increase the temperature of it by increasing the heat. Everyone has sprained their back or sprained their knee, sprained their shoulder, gotten the jacuzzi, and oh boy, that feels so good. The next day, it's ballooned up twice the size. So adding heat to a sprain is usually a bad idea, but yet you still want nutrients and oxygen and blood getting to that area. So one of the benefits of cold laser therapy and how it actually stimulates and assists with healing is it actually can bring nutrients to the area without creating heat. Number three, it increases the cellular turnover. Now, if you think about how something heals, it's something that you actually learned probably in junior high or middle school in your biology class. It's called mitosis. So if you were to cut something on your hand, cut your skin, how does your body actually create new skin? It does it through a process of mitosis, where cells will divide into more cells to create new tissue. The speed with which that occurs is going to depend on a lot of factors. But the main factor with cold laser therapy is if it can increase cellular turnover, those cells multiply faster. And that is how the body heals. And of course, that's how you can speed up healing. The fourth benefit of cold laser therapy is such that it is essentially a painless treatment. Most of the treatment that we do, we try to attempt to make it as comfortable as possible for the patient. But sometimes people come in and they are just in agony. They are really messed up. And so it's very difficult to even touch them with your hands or even run a nervoscope down their spine. But with cold laser therapy, it is extremely painless, and that is a great benefit. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. One of the disadvantages, at least for the doctor, is that the price of the laser can be significant. And what you're actually buying when you buy a laser is power. Now, I have 4 different lasers in my office. I primarily use 3 of them, and one of them I use the majority of the time. The higher the power laser you get with different wavelengths, and as well as power, the deeper the penetration is. This is significant when a person comes in and let's say they're over 300 pounds. You need to go through a lot of tissue to get to the actual area where they're injured. A person's knee is superficial. Most of the knee structures are superficial, so you don't need to go as deep. But the more power you have in your laser, and also different wavelengths, you are going to get deeper penetration and faster healing times. Now, of course, if it costs the doctor more, it's going to cost you, the patient, more. So one of the disadvantages of cold laser therapy is that you are going to pay for it. Now, the big question is there research? Yes, it's down below. And how do certain insurance companies feel about it? Because insurance companies don't want to pay for experimental treatment, right? Well, I'm going to put a link down below. The dichotomy of this is that, for example, one insurance company, Aetna, they actually feel as though cold laser therapy, despite some of the research, is in their eyes experimental. Many insurance companies do this, by the way. They will call something experimental either to not pay for it or pay very little. However, we have a list here of what insurance companies pay. Aetna, despite the fact that it says it's experimental, actually pays us $14.40 as of right now for cold laser therapy. So even though the insurance company feels it's considered experimental, they will cover it. Blue Shield, let's see what Blue Shield pays. Blue Shield pays $12.87, and so this is not a lot of money, but it goes to show you that many insurance companies do recognize and pay for cold laser therapy. Other insurance companies, such as Kaiser Permanente, we are not reimbursed for cold laser therapy for them. However, Kaiser Permanente does not reimburse us for soft tissue work. They don't pay us for exercise therapy. So if I show someone core exercises for the lower back, that's not a covered service. So go figure. Another disadvantage deals with ASMR, that fancy term where you get something that feels so good your body is tingling. Patients, you can't really feel what's happening when you're doing cold laser therapy. So when I'm doing cold laser therapy on a patient, if I'm using a class 4 laser and I'm using it for a certain amount of time, sometimes patients will feel a wee bit of heat, but they don't get that feeling like something was done. Very often, patients will actually turn around and say, are you doing anything? You know, that type of thing. So the advantage of that is that it's painless. The disadvantage of that is that some patients, they just can't feel anything that's occurring. So if you're doing this to their lower back or the back of their neck or their middle back or the back of their shoulder, they can't actually see what's happening. So it just feels like you're almost holding an old ultrasound machine against their skin and nothing is happening. So the unimpressive part of this is if we were to do a video showing me doing laser therapy, I guarantee it would get 0 hits. Why? Because there's no cracking, there's no pulling of the neck, there's no ripping people's heads off. There's no snap, crackle, pop. There's not that scare or fear or amazement of what happens when some people do a chiropractic adjustment. So it's not very impressive if you were to videotape it or show it on YouTube, and thus that's, one could say, a disadvantage. The last disadvantage, and you would never guess this for in a million years until you're a patient that comes in who's requesting cold laser therapy and we tell you we simply cannot do it, is how many tattoos people have. Now, very often, when I first started in chiropractic, very few people had tattoos, and now it seems they're getting entire sleeves, their whole leg is tattooed, their entire back is tattooed, their front is tattooed, their neck is tattooed. It's gotten to a point where some people have more tattoo surface area than non-tattoo surface area. The reason this is a problem is because the ink that the tattoo artist is using that is embedded in your skin can actually heat up if using a class 4 high-powered laser. This is a problem because it starts to feel like the area is burning, which it may very well be. So if a person has a tramp stamp on the back of their tushy, and that's typically where people put the tramp stamp right over L4 and L5. Well, guess what the most common area people have low back pain is L4 and L5. So it makes it a disadvantage because if you yourself have a tattoo in an area where we want to do therapy and we're going to use cold laser therapy, it's actually a disadvantage because I don't want to be responsible for ruining someone's tattoo or ruining the ink of the area. And then also what you notice is when you put the laser on the tattoo, if you're trying to help someone, you will find very quickly that person will almost jump away because of the heat that is occurring. So does cold laser therapy work? There's advantages and disadvantages. The answer is yes. Cold laser therapy does work. To many people, it is extremely perceptible. In fact, you will laser someone and they will walk out of the office literally saying, wow, I feel better. That's one extreme example. The other extreme example, and this goes for any type of therapy in any type of field of medicine, is they'll walk out and they won't notice anything. And most people, I believe, are somewhere in the middle. So it may have an effect, you just may not notice it right away. But what cold laser therapy does is it essentially speeds up healing by getting things to heal faster than they normally would. And my personal experience has literally been that after seeing a number of patients over years and years and years, you start to get an idea of how long, for example, a sciatica will take or a tendinosis of the elbow and things like that. So you get an idea of how long it will take. I have found that when using cold laser therapy in conjunction with the other therapies that I do, can actually speed healing by somewhere between 30 to 40%. That's just a rough estimate, a guess, because I don't usually just use cold laser therapy only. We're using a number of different things because in the real world, this is not research. The real world is get the patient better faster than anyone else can.